All right, welcome to the Natomas Charter School Board of Directors meeting for September. I will call us to order at 5:33. Roll call vote. Doug Gaffney?
Yes.
Sean King?
Yes.
Nina? Yes. Jennifer Morgan, I'm here. Arsenio? Welcome.
Here, yes.
Valerie? All right. Let's see, Preeti and Gina are absent, correct?
Gina will be joining you all during closed session. Preeti is absent and Dr. Mehorado is absent.
Okay, excellent. All right, and welcome to all of our student representatives. Hearing of the public for items on the closed session agenda.
Oh, nope, we're going first to student information
You
updates.
Okay, what am I? Oh, well, that's because in August we didn't do that. I have the August thing up. All right,
And Ms. Morgan, if you would please do a roll call of the student representatives as well. Their
I will
names are
be
listed there.
glad to do that.
So let's start with John Amir.
John Amir?
Yeah.
Welcome. Marley? Help me with your first name, is it Zafer?
I go by Zach, yeah.
Zach, okay, that, I got it, all right, Raven. And is it Ian?
Yeah.
Okay, welcome, guys. Okay, student information updates. What? Raven. Raven.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I got Raven. Hey, how'd you write it?
Yeah.
Oh,
Should I just line you?
I don't know. Okay. All right. Student information update, let's start with John Amir.
Hello, everybody. It was just said, my name is John Mayer Appleton. I am representative for ECA. I am a senior this year, and it's my first time. So. This September, we had our back to school night. It was where families came to ECA to meet the teachers and other students, like students' friends, and what the teachers were doing this year and previous years. The event itself was very successful. We had a very good participation and attendance with all the parents and students. We even had a raffle, which went really well. We were able to make good fundraising with that. And that was, yeah, and it was very successful. Out of my years at ECA, it was one of our more successful back to school nights, in my opinion. We had our 9th grade Link Crew Social on August 30th. During this event, the upper class Link leaders led games, fun activities for the Linkies, and they were, from what I got from, because I'm not a Link leader, but what I got from the Link leaders that I had spoken to, it was a very successful and very interactive environment, and it was very good for the Linkies to get to know the other Linkies, so they were able to be welcomed well into the school. We had our first 3-day weekend on the year of Labor Day, the weekend of Labor Day. There was no school on September 2nd. The ECA seniors got to vote on our senior trip this year. We voted on a day trip to Universal Studios, and there are all the options like camping and or the night trip or Six Flags. It was almost unanimous that we wanted the Universal Studios trip for not only the price, but also to have the most attendance, so everyone can have the most amount of fun. The ECA and PFAA leadership classes have already started collaborating on the homecoming events, such as the homecoming parade and homecoming performances. And this will be our first year that ECA will be combining with the grade level classes so that they will have it's not experiment, but it's our first time trying to make collaboration between the two schools. We've been trying to do that for years, and it's very important to both ECA and PFA that we all get along. On Thursday, September 5th, the ECA and PFAA counselors hosted a parent university to educate our parents and importance on Suicide Prevention Week. Today, In the senior class, at least, we had our guidance counselor, Ms. Zopa, come into class today and present slides. We didn't have a lot of time today because of our rally schedule due to the planning for homecoming performances and float. So we'll have more time next week, according to Ms. Zopa. It's Thursday. This week, as I just said, this week is Suicide Prevention Week, and Ms. Zopa will be informing us more about the ideas and importance and information on Suicide Prevention Week and why it's important to bring notice and why it's important to know about. And that is all.
All right, next up, Marley for Leading Edge.
Hello everyone, I'm Marley, I'm from Leading Edge, and I'm an 8th grader this year. In my report not this week, but for this last month, we had our 6th grade orientation on August 6th. That was very nice. A lot of the 6th graders came, very excited to join middle school. Woo! All the great fun, very much homework. We had Web. Web had meetings in April just to get a brief little understanding of what they're going to be doing, what they're going to be introducing to the 6th graders. And they also have these meetings, well, not meetings, but these fun get-togethers between their 6th graders and their Web leaders. And they come together to just have an interactive game that happens every month. And it's on Friday during Learning Lab. They have a nice time. They play games to get to know each other, to get to know the school, and to go over expectations sometimes when needed. The first day of school, of course, was fun. Everyone got to see their friends. Everyone got to catch up, do a lot of regrouping from summer. We have ASB. ASB parts were chosen last year so that we can just hop right on track this year so that we could get ready on our dances, socials, our spirit days, our rallies, just hop right back into that like we didn't leave. We have LEAP President Annie Kay, Vice President Erica Batara, Volunteer Coordinator Alejandra Godinez, and for Budget and Fundraising Manager, we have that as an open position, which is a very, very not so good thing because we need our funding and our things to be well coordinated. So if you guys know anyone, please. And we have a new addition, we have BSU. So this year we have BSU in not only middle school PFAA, but we also have it in Leading Edge. This year, it's not like a club, it's like more of it's like ASB, but it's for people who not only are part of that culture, but want to learn more about it and support it. BSU has events, we have a mixer in October 3rd to be exact. We want to just let everyone know how welcome we are in the BSU community and how nice and collaborative it is for everyone. And in our recent events, we have our web social for 6th graders. That was basically just to get to know the school, a little unpacking for what they're going to be coming into, and just to so they're more comfortable and not so eager to do this and that, just to calm and go through things smoothly. We had back to school night. Back to school night is a night where parents come, they meet the teachers, some catch up with their teachers that have been going there for a while. They basically go down what's going on for that school year or for the trimester. They talk about the needs that they may need in the classroom, their expectations, so that the parents know and the students aren't just lying when they get home. And then we had picture day. Picture day was very nice. Everyone came dressed their best and was very excited. And for Leading Edge Sports, volleyball started. We have our team for 6th and 7th grade. No, we have for 6th and 7th and 8th grade. And for flag football as well, we have 6th grade and 7th and 8th. They're up and running. Our 6th grade's first game was today, and our 7th and 8th flag football and volleyball first game will be happening next week, I believe. And for cross country, it's a sport that not only is for Leading Edge, but it also joins with PFAA. We basically with that, they come together and they act as if they're one team, and they go run and they run for good causes. They run because, of course, it's something that they would like to do. And then for academics, we have iReady Diagnostics. A lot of kids have been improving in that. People have been catching up still from COVID and like not knowing certain things, but kids are really on track now. We have better ratings on our diagnostics. We've started with math and tutoring already, so like kids that are just now coming can get help, so they're on track with their other classmates. And we've had a reading intervention program that has been started. Thank you.
Okay, next up, Zach for PFAA.
Hi, I'm Zach Lofty, and I'll be representing the Performing and Fine Arts Academy. Okay, so we had ASP membership sales August 19th through the 28th. We sold almost 200 memberships. We will be having another pop-up sale the week before homecoming. These memberships give you a discount on dances, yearbooks. We have an event at the end of the year called Day on the Green. It's all sorts of fun. Middle school ASB started meetings August 28th. Picture Day and Back to School Night was August 29th. We sold some ASB memberships there. It was very successful. Link Crew 9th grade social was August 30th. The Parent U Mental Health Info Night was September 5th. The middle school social was September 6th. Suicide Prevention Week is this week, September 9th through the 13th. The National Honor Society induction ceremony is September 19th in the Benvenuti. Homecoming Week and Spirit Week is September 23rd. Some Spirit Week themes will be Pajama Day, Class Color Day, and Aesthetic Swap. The Homecoming Rally is September 24th. We will have fun games and performances planned. Middle school class meetings are September 24th. They will have class meetings when we have our rally. Charter Bowl is September 25th. This is an after-school activity from 4 to 5:30. It's a friendly competition between all the grade levels over a game of Capture the Flag. The Homecoming Float Parade is September 26th during lunch. This year's themes for the grades are Sleeping Beauty for freshmen, Tangles for sophomores, Beauty and the Beast for juniors, and Princess and the Frog for seniors. And then lastly, the Homecoming Dance is September 28th from 7 to 9:30, and it's Princess and the Frog themed. Thank you.
All right, next is Raven for the PACT update.
Hello, nice to see you again. My name is Raven Young, and I'm the student representative for PACT Academy. This past month has been a busy one, so let's get into it. On August 7th, students returned to school from summer break. We all were very excited to see each other. On August 7th through 9th was orientation. PACT parents were greeted by our principal in the multi-purpose room, where she went over a slideshow explaining our program components. We split up into 3 groups and rotated through 10-minute workshops led by PACT advisors. Afterwards, families toured the school and were able to sign up for workshops. On August 23rd, we held a trip to the North Natomas Library and hosted a Park Day celebration. The library field trip was run by student volunteers. The volunteers read to the students, put on a skit, and took the kids on a scavenger hunt. Afterwards, PACT students went to the park for a back-to-school picnic and were able to buy a cone of ice. It was fun being able to lead a part of the field trip and being able to lead the scavenger hunt. August 26th, workshops began and PACT hosted the Parent Book Club. The book club met and discussed The Brave Learner book by Julie Bogart. On August 30th was Picture Day. Students and parents were camera ready. They all looked spectacular as they got their pictures taken. Now let's get into our upcoming events. Tomorrow, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m., PACT will be hosting a Chipotle fundraiser, where 25% of event sales go to the NCS PACT Academy. In order for PACT to receive funds from Chipotle, people who participate must show the flyer to the cashier or order online using a code that you can find on the flyer. I have a few flyers that I'll be holding after open session if you'd like to participate and spread the word. On September 13th, PAC 3rd through 8th graders will have a chance to take a fencing lesson at Sacramento Saber Fencing. Also, on September 13th, Sacramento Adventure Playground will be open for 1st through 6th graders. They'll have a chance. They will have fun building forts and playing in the mud. On September 27th, Sacramento Aquatic Center will be open to the 3rd through 8th graders. I am very excited. On September 17th will be PAC Family Night. The theme will be Renaissance Fair. Also, on September 17th, PAC will host a parent coffee talk with Miss Carter. The topic is getting your homeschool year started. Thank you for listening and good night.
All right, and finally we have VM for the Star Academy update.
Hello, Natomas Charter Board members. My name is Vian, and I'm a 5th grader at Star Academy, and I'm happy to share our school's updates for September. First up, we had our first day of school on August 7th. We had so much fun meeting our new teachers. We even reconnected with our friends. And we also took a little too many pictures with our parents. Also, we started something called PBIS at Star Academy. PBIS stands for Positive Behavior Intervention and Support. PBIS helps us get along and behave well. We have big banners all around our school that have expectations and rules about PBIS. Additionally, this year, we have voice level charts in every classroom. They help students understand which voice levels to use during each period. Next, we had back to school picnic on August 9th from 6 to 8 p.m. There were games, prizes, food trucks, and DJs. Next year, we hope there will be boba tea. Next, another important event we had was back to school night. Parents came to meet our teachers, learn about our classrooms, and hear important information from the principal. Something new this year we have is a new lap tracker for Walking Wednesday. The app is really fun and keeps track of how many laps we walk during Walking Wednesday. Parents and volunteers can scan a ticket that we carry with us. We also started having PBIS assemblies. At PBIS assemblies, we review our STARS expectations, which are safely interact, take responsibility, act to solve problems, respect our community, and show kindness. We also have raffles for students who have earned Scholar Dollars in class. Scholar Dollars are a ticket we earn for showing stars in class or at recess. Some upcoming events we have are Star Academy Jogathon on September 25th. This is an important event that raises money for our school and special events like field trips, assemblies, and musical instruments. Finally, we have a new specialist class this year, which is MAPA. MAPA stands for Music and Performing Arts. Mr. Fassler is our MAPA teacher. We are hoping we will perform another play in 5th grade. One thing we need for our MAPA class is more musical instruments. Thank you for listening to my Star Academy update, and I hope you have a wonderful evening.
That was great. Thank you to all of you. I know it's probably not easy to stand up in front of a room of people you don't know whatsoever and do such a great job. So excellent job with your preparation, your information, your eye contact, your voice, everything. It was awesome. So happy to have you all here and excited to see you next month. You're welcome to stay if you like, or you can go do all that homework you were talking about. Next up, hearing of the public for items on the closed session agenda.
Nothing received with me, and let me just check online. No members of the public online.
Okay. At this point, I'll adjourn us to closed session to consider and or take action upon any of the following: public employee performance evaluation pursuant to Government Code 54954.2. Dr. Joe Wood is our administrative representative. Executive Director Evaluation and Employment. Adjourn us at 5:52. I would all kinds of troubles tonight. All right, I will reconvene. I will reconvene open session at 6:39. No action taken during closed session. Questions, comments? Oh, Dr. Daphne signed it. Oh, where'd he go? Well, he needs to come back in.
He went to the restroom.
Can I go?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right, comments, questions, anything tonight's agenda? Okay, may I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion, I'll second.
Thank you, Mallory, thank you, Gina. Roll call vote on tonight's agenda. Dr. Gaffney.
Yes.
Sean. Nita.
Yes.
Gina. Jennifer, I mean, yes. Arsenio.
Yes.
Mallory.
Yes.
Okay. Moving right along. Consent items. Questions, comments, anything on that? We have a motion to approve tonight's consent items.
I'll second.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, I didn't hear the first. Who made the
The
motion?
first was Dr. Doug. And then we gotta duke it out on the second.
Oh, no.
You're conceding?
I
Mallory's
rescind.
conceding. All right, accept.
I will.
All right. Roll call vote. Mallory.
Yes.
Arsenio.
Yes.
Jennifer, I mean, yes. Gina.
Yes.
Nita. Yep. Sean.
Yes.
Doug.
Yes.
Okay. Action items. Unaudited financial actuals, Anita. She's up there and ready to go. Awesome, I like it. Awesome, awesome.
All right, let's see who's gonna pull this up. Well, okay.
Maybe.
Computer, honey, a moment.
All right, so you can go to the next slide, Zika. Okay, so this is the areas that we're gonna touch on for our financial statements. The books are closed. And overall, we had a great year. We accomplished so much in 23-24 that it's surprising that we did so well. And I'm looking forward to us continuing to do that. We've accomplished many of the goals that the board set out to do. So we're gonna first look at revenues and expenditures, and then a summary overview. At that point, I'm gonna also walk you through the financial statements, because these are our true financial statements, and they are also including the SAC state format that I want to just kind of highlight over with you, and then talk about some cash and notes to our financial statements, including the highlights for this year and what's next in this budget process. So, next slide. Okay. All right, so starting with revenues and stuff. So for the LCFF local control funding formula in 23-24, we got a really big COLA, 8.22%. I don't know if you remember that, the years kind of blend in with each other and stuff too, but that was a really big COLA. And we also planned conservatively around that, because the state used over $1 billion of one-time funds to fund that. So we weren't sure about that. But as we closed the books, yes, we did fully get the 8.22%. Our enrollment at CBEDS was 1,863, and our funded ADA, or average daily attendance, was 1,799. So that was about a 90% attendance ratio, which was a 1% increase over the prior year, which was really great. We also at that last year was the first year we used the alternative income form that also increased our unduplicated pupil count, which also increased our local control funding formula funds on that. And then also we have lots of state categoricals and then local resources in the form of mini grants, donations, our before and after school program fees, interest, and some e-rate rebates. So looking at the next slide over here, this is a snapshot of the dollar. So you'll see that we got over $21 million in the local control funding formula. And so that was about over $1 million in the previous year because of that 8.22% COLA. Federal revenues, The majority of that, I would say more than half of that was still the CARES Act funds that we got during COVID for helping schools that we were spending down. And then other state revenues, $6.7 million. Over $3 million of that was the state facilities grant money that we got. So we got in advance on our Black Rock project on that piece, as well as some more state CARES Act money spending down. And then other local revenues. So the 3.33 million is not only local revenues such as interest, donations, things like that, but also for the Saks accounting, our SPED dollars are considered a local transfer from the SELPA. So that's included in there as well on that piece. So if you go to the next slide. Here, this is just kind of a pie chart to show how the revenue is broken out. But the important thing to remember is about over 67% this year was related to student attendance, of that being that local control funding formula. Of that 67%, 9% comes from the Education Protection Act, which is your sales tax money that we get, and then 15% from local property taxes that are transferred to us from Natomas Unified. We still get about 2% in lottery funds, and then state special ed funds would increase by 5%, and that's because we got quite a bit of one-time money from the SELPA this year. So they basically had some reserves on file that they pushed out to all the schools, member schools, and so that also helped alleviate some of our encroachment in some of those programs as well. And then the remaining 26%, a large chunk of that is the advance for the facility funds for the state. So going to the next slide, these are the main line items of expenditures as a snapshot. We spent over $25.5 million. So you can see how broken out by certificated, classified, employee benefits, books and supplies, operating and professional services, that's kind of a catch-all, and then capital outlay. You can see that for all of our facility projects that we were working on this year, we spent over 1.6 million on that. We were able also, just kind of pausing on there, we had the Black Rock fence project that was completely done. And then we also did the CAPT Phase 2 renovation for Central Services relocation, as well as a lot of design fees for the Black Rock expansion project on that piece. Let's see if I can go to the next slide. So pie chart here of expenditures. Of the total expenditures, 73% this year is going towards salary and benefits. And then the remaining makes up everything else, 3% being what we pay to Natomas Unified in the form of MOU fees. If you were to pull out the capital expenditures and stuff, it'd be closer to the 80% that we're spending in salary and benefits for that piece. So go next slide here. Okay, so on this snapshot here, I need to get my attention. This is kind of comparing what we estimated our closing to be versus actuals in the variance. So from the high level view, by closing the books, we received over $896,000. Of that, there's two main categories that really make up that money, besides a lot of changes and stuff. One was by the time they did the final allocations for the Learning Recovery Block Grant, they didn't cut as much as we were anticipating when we closed the books the previous year. So that's about $400,000 of that. The other of that is interest. We received just in fourth quarter alone over $500,000, $500,000. Now, looking back at that, it looks like they held back some for first quarter and did a settle, but with inflation, interest rates go up, and we are building our cash reserves and fund balance. So that's pretty much what the difference was on those revenues. On the expenditure side, you'll see that there was underspending or a savings of about $4.6 million. So with that, most of that is facilities carryover, categorical carryover as well. And then when you add in the additional revenues that we were getting and the additional SELPA money that we got, our, I would say, regular operating fallout, which we normally runs about $1 million or so, was a little less than that this year after you back it out and stuff too. But a lot of that does have, has restrictions and plans on that. So the increase to our fund balance is 5.4 million when compared to the estimated actual. So we're projecting an ending fund balance of $25 million. So when you look at what we started for our beginning balance for revenues less expenditures, our fund balance is increasing by 6.1 million overall. Of our fund balance, the 25 million, close to 5.3 million is restricted categorical program funds. So we are very fiscal sound on there. Our fund balance is about 98% of our expenditures at this time. Revolving fund, cash and banks, that equals 255,978. Again, the categorical restricted programs of the 5.3 million. We have roughly 10% of our total expenditures set aside for economic uncertainties, that 2.55 million. The unrestricted programs at 125,533 is ELOC program. So expanded learning opportunity program really is considered unrestricted funds with the state. And that's one of the reasons why they have their eyes on potential cuts in the future for that. Our other reserves for specific purposes add up to about 10.8 million. And then we set aside 6 million for cash reserves alone on that piece. So at this time, I want to have Ziba pull up our actual financial statements, starting with the SACS report, the first report. I believe it is in your packet, page 21, when you're looking at your screen. So this is the certification that Joe will be asked to sign, that will be going to the Tomish Unified and the county office certifying our report. So Ziba, if you scroll down, the next page starts the SACS financial reports. So what's different compared to our normal internal reports is it breaks it out by unrestricted and restricted revenues, and you have a total column. So the total column will match our summary slides here, but it starts off with revenues, and if you can keep scrolling down right there. So total revenues, you can see that 31 million right there. Then it gets into expenditures, again broken out by restricted and unrestricted. And see if you can continue to slow down, go down to the next slide here. All this detail, keep going, yeah, okay, a little bit more. And then we get to see where it says 8 expenditures right there. That's a 25 million right there. And then the excess or deficiency of revenues over expenditures. See, there's a glare, but it should be 6.1 million. When you scroll down a little bit here, you get to the fund balance component. So you can see it starts off with what is our beginning fund balance, what our increase or decrease was, and then all the fund balance components broken out again by restricted and unrestricted dollars. So really the only thing on the restricted side is the restricted categoricals and facilities. Everything else is considered unrestricted. Further down the page, section G starts with assets. So this is really your balance sheet. So it's going to break it out by cash equivalents, receivables, prepaid expenses, and then it gets into our liabilities, what we owe people on there. So you want to scroll down a little bit more. And then it ties to our fund balance, the total fund balance positions. Now this section here, L, it's federal Every Student Succeeds Act. So if you get federal dollars and you use any of it on capital expenses, you have to disclose it here, which we don't do at this time. And capital expenses would be anything over $5,000 on there. Number 2 under here, community service expenditures. We don't have any of those expenditures that qualify. That would be if like the school participated with Parks and Recs for some type of activity or program and stuff. And then lastly is our state and local expenditures to be used for the Every Student Succeeds Act for our annual maintenance of effort. So we have to show the state that there's our total expenditures. They're going to back out federal revenues. They're going to back out capital outlay. And the total down there is what we have to show that we have spent more this year than the previous year on that. If you go down, the next one is, these are the financial statements you're used to seeing. So at adopted budget time, we had the pale yellow color estimated actuals, pink column, and then the 2 subsequent years reported to you. I inserted the unaudited actuals in blue, so you can just see how it was. But adopted budget and the projected future years are still remain the same. So if you get at the bottom of this page, also goes over in detail what our internal fund balance components are. And of the program reserves, later on tonight, we're going to be talking about the resolution that we're going to be asking you to approve for that. Down is, again, our detailed reports with the comparison columns going down. After this, the next 2 pages are the actuals by academy. So you want to scroll down so you go to the next page. Then also, keep going, okay. And then this is our final report for Education Protection Act, where we got $2.9 million, and that's a sales and use tax funds that fund our LCFF. And we certified that it all went towards instruction. So this is a requirement to have the board approve and post on our website. The next one are a couple of supplemental information pages. So at year end, I always include this MOE summary so that you can see what we've paid the school district with for the past almost decade or so too. So, and I also included a little pie chart so you can see like the years back in 13, 14, we had a lot of services provided to us from Natomas Unified. And then by fiscal year 17, 18, we really brought things in, went truly independent. And year 19, 20 was the year that we brought in, after that, we brought in special ed in-house and stuff too. So you see that drop off. And then the last thing for your reading enjoyment is our financial trends, which includes all of those years. And I also labeled on top that what were the COVID years versus the post-COVID years. And if you scroll down just a little bit here, you'll see this graph. So historically, Natomas Charter School has either, they really have a deficit spend in all these years and stuff, with the exception of fiscal year 19-20. But when you look at fiscal year 18-19, 19-20, and 20-21, and you look at capital outlay, those were years we had huge capital expenses. We built Star Academy and everything. So that was pretty much only 1 year out of that decade that we deficit spent in that area, which is really good too. So thank you for letting me walk you through that piece there. So we'll go back to this slide. And if we advance to the next slide, which is the fund balance. Okay, yeah. So this is a pie chart of the total fund balance and the percentages within the fund balance. So we have 10% economic uncertainties. Of the total fund balance, 21% is restricted categorical funds. Cash and operating reserves equal 32%, and then other set-aside reserves is the 36%. Go next slide. Okay, so like I said, we did a lot this year and stuff. So on the revenue side, we received an additional $1,304.98 per ADA over the previous year, which was an average of $10,795.40. We received additional SELPA funds, and again, I think I mentioned that it was over $300,000. SCAPE revenues, we saw an increase in those funds. They did really well there and were very self-sufficient. We had some E-rate funds, basically rebates based on our wireless equipment that we bought. We received the balance of the Learning Recovery Block Grant, and we received quite a few donations and mini grants. And then also, I always want to put on here that what I call the phantom entry, the STRS on behalf entry, which is over $800,000 in revenues and $800,000 in expenses. Nets out to zero together. On the expenditure side, we really expanded the special ed department. We had some teachers on special assignment an additional behavior specialist that we had added. We separated director positions so that we had one full SPED director, and then we also added a program specialist. Then on the technology side, we were able to refurbish some labs. We also replaced Chromebooks, all new staff with laptops, equipment, and a computer, like I said, computer refresh on one of our labs, and the STIRS on behalf entry. Continuing with the expenditure side, all salary schedules for 23-24 received a 3% increase across the board. We also provided summer school and expanded that a little bit, as well as additional professional development for certificated staff and some administrators, and then the tutoring services, the Black Rock Fence Project, phase 2, and then the Black Rock expansion design. So for cash, our cash is over $25 million, which is really good because our fund balance is $20 million, right? So we don't owe a lot of money basically on that piece. We took a while to reserve. The reason why it's high is we are saving up for a facilities project, as mentioned. But 24-25, that budget does include some cash deferrals. And so right now, they're going to be deferring in June of 2025, that month's apportionment into July. So only 1 month. But last year, we didn't have those. See if you go to the next slide. Okay, so what's happening next on that? So now that the books are closed, we're going to be updating our beginning balances. We're going to be looking to see if there's any new state categorical changes that we need to add to our budget. The next budget update that we'll bring to you is the first interim report that we'll ask you to approve in December. Followed by that, the second interim report, which you approve in March. And then we close the books and start all over again. So I'll open it up for any questions.
How does our 80% compare to other schools? So the 80% that spends on staff, salaries and benefits?
Actually, so looking back at our presentations with Natoma Unified, and with just the charter schools and stuff, we're all hovering between 76% up to the highest I've seen is like 82% or so. School districts tend to spend a little bit more on theirs and stuff too, but you really want to be careful if you hit in the 90s.
Yes.
For that, yeah. Okay. And we did accomplish a lot from that. They spent a lot of money went through the schools and stuff.
Anyone else? Okay. Probably need a motion.
Yes, please.
All right, may I have a motion to approve the 2023-24 unaudited financial actuals? How much is? Thank you, Mallory. May I have a second? Thank you, Nita. Roll call vote, Doug.
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Nita? Yes. Sheena? Jennifer, I'm a yes. Arsenio?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Next.
Okay.
So moved.
Yeah.
Approval of resolution 0909-2024.01 designating certain general funds as committed fund balance.
Yes. Okay. So this is the first time we're bringing this type of board resolution to you. What it is it stands for GASB, Standards Accounting Board Statement 54, which allows all governmental agencies to commit funds at the highest level of the LEA's government. So this would be the board of directors here. And this really came about, it's been around for about close to 10 years already. But it came about because of some of the restrictions that school districts had on their reserves, caps on reserves. And so now moving forward, in talking with the district, they really wanted to see our commitment in our fund balance for our facility projects as we ask them for money for our future bond and things like that, as well as our county office oversight. They asked all school districts to start, and that includes us as an online district, to commit their fund balances. So for all the set asides that we have for that, which are listed right here, $6 million for facilities, technology device refresh, 100,000, special ed program reserves, 200,000, the STRS PERS pension reserves of 800,000, and then compensation reserves, the 1.8 million. And that the compensation reserves, just to refresh your memory, is basically to provide us time in an economic downturn to avoid certain layoffs and stuff, and take our time to really look at our program needs at that point. So with this action with the board, when you approve it, that means that you need to take action to use the money. So this also provides transparency so that the board is truly aware that, hey, Anita used that $6 million for whatever it is, or, so when we go to say, do the facilities project and stuff, we will be coming to the board with another resolution, usually with the first interim, second interim, or whatever reporting period we're going to use it for, and bring another resolution so that the board is clearly aware that some of these reserves are being drawn down.
Questions, comments? Motion? Motion. Thank you, Gina. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mallory. Roll call vote. Doug?
Yes.
Sean?
Yes.
Nita? Yes. Gina? Yes. Jennifer, I'm a yes. Arsenio?
Yes.
And Mallory?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Nita. Oh, and I'm gonna beat Ziva to it. Sign that. The resolution's up there before you leave.
Yeah, please don't leave until you sign the resolution.
She will hunt you down. It's not pretty. I've heard. All right. Laura? Approval of,
Teacher assignments.
yeah, that 2024-25 teacher assignment.
Yes, we are in we're special here at Natomas Charter School in that we have a CTE program, so a career technical education program, that the same teachers that teach that program in our arts at PFA also teach middle school. Usually those teachers just teach high school. And the credentialing is different for being a CTE teacher versus being a traditional arts teacher. And so every year what we need to do is we need to do what's called a local approval of our arts teachers that are hold a CTE credential. And so we're trying to avoid them all having to go back and get another credential to teach middle school. So what we do here is we say, for example, the top, Karen Pollard can teach 6th grade production because she has a CTE credential and decades in the field. So we're saying, yes, we agree that this high school CTE credential qualifies you for teaching middle school. And so this is just kind of a listing of what credential they have, how much experience they have in the field, and what allows them to teach the middle school course. So usually you have separate teachers, but our kids get the same fabulous teachers for 7 years. Any questions?
All right, may I have a motion to approve the 2024-25 teacher assignment?
I'll motion.
Thank you, Mallory. May I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Need a roll call vote. Mallory?
Yes.
Arsenio?
Yes.
Jennifer, I'm a yes. Gina? Nita? Yes. Sean?
Yes.
Doug? Okay. Dr. Wood has an enrollment report for us.
Yes, next up is our monthly enrollment report. CBEDS Day is the first Wednesday in October, so we're still in the thick of making sure all the seats are full. This year we kind of had two added wrinkles. One, our front office staff on this campus started a week later than our front office staff on other campuses, partially due to some workflow things that they needed to accomplish. And then also Twin River started about a week and a half after us, which has kind of created an interesting domino effect. So right now, leading edge on that report is 255. That was as of August 30th. Today they're actually sitting at 256. They actually have about 8 kids starting tomorrow and then a few more starting the following week. PACT is currently, as of today, actually sitting at 113, so they're kind of in the process of filling those seats. PFA, similar to PACT, basically they have about 20 seats that they're in the process of filling, so they have 10 starting tomorrow, and then 10 are supposed to start the following Wednesday. And then Star Academy is actually full at 600. ECA is actually at 122 as of this morning. So, we're still kind of in the shuffle. I think one of the challenges that we're having with the 2 secondary sites is just honestly getting people to respond. So we're kind of moving to a model of you get 24 hours to respond to our phone call, and if you don't respond, then move on to the next person on the waiting list. So we can get those seats filled in the next week or 2.
Great. All right, counseling, oh, sorry, any questions on that? Okay, counseling update.
Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Great to see you again. I know our student reports, you really heard about how busy the kids have been. Our counselors have been hustling too. So I'm really excited to share all the great things we have accomplished in a very short amount of time. So this evening, what we'll be talking about, thank you. So for our agenda tonight, we'll be introducing our counseling team. We do have some new faces on our team. I'll be spending a moment to go over the ASCA model that we are shifting to within our counseling department. Talk about some restructuring within our Black Rock academies, and then Kelsey and Tony will be sharing some academy updates as well. So to show off, I'm very biased. I actually think this is the best team. No offense to teams out there at the Tacoma Charter School. But so with us tonight, we have Kelsey Herman returning from Star Academy. Zoe Patel was with us. She's returning again. She supports ECA and PACT. We do have Tony Gouge, who's our new counselor for Leading Edge. Actually stepped in as a contractor at the end of last year, so he's a familiar-ish face. We have Lexi Snowden at our PFAA middle school, and then our high school, Megan Eigner has returned as a high school counselor, and then we brought Karina Cervantes on as well. And you'll see the alphabet, the letters are last names, and so that's a new restructure that I'll talk about in just a little bit, but those are last names, not fun names or anything we call them. So we've really been spending some time, we contracted with Akua Ramsey Gilbert, who does a lot of our DEI work, and she comes from a counseling background. And so we tapped her as an expert in the area of counseling and school administration to help us last year just take a really close look at what's going well, what might we be able to tweak to really be aligned with the ASCA national model. So ASCA stands for the American School Counselor Association, and I'm definitely not going to read all this small print for you. But when we think about school counseling, we really think about it in that tier triangle, which is very similar to what we do in academics as well. But looking at the bottom portion, that's our tier 1. And so we actually read this from bottom up instead of top down. So our tier 1, you can see that's 80% of the work of our counselors. And that's actually building that strong foundation for our students TK all the way through 12th grade with social emotional skills, coping skills, advocacy skills, self-regulation, but also on the college and career readiness, even starting in TK and kindergarten. What are those healthy study skills that we need to support our kids with? And that's really the bulk of the work for our counselors. And so, they're not meant to be therapists who are in offices working with kids day in and day out. It's really building capacity with our students. And again, that's 80% of the work. Moving up to the yellow part of the triangle, that's about 15% of our counselors' work and about 15% of our students. That's tier 2. So that's where you start seeing small groups with targeted instruction, maybe around managing anxiety or friendship building skills or study habit skills. So that's a little bit more targeted. What you'll also see in that is more consultation between parents and teachers with the counselors as well. Then we move up to the top part of our triangle. That's 5% of our counselors' work. That's not really intensive work. And it's not that they're doing therapy in offices, but they're really working with our community partners to say, okay, this kid really has got some significant needs. Where can we tap our community partners and really work closely with that family to determine more structured supports? It could even go the way of assessments for special education in case there's, if there are some additional needs as well. So that's kind of the scope of the counseling, the work. And then tying this to our 3-way compact. So as you know, Natomas Charter School is founded on a 3-way compact between school, family, and students. So how that applies to our counseling department. We are really committed to building those skills for our students, especially after COVID. We know it's starting to settle in a little bit more, but we definitely have a lot of work to do with helping kids with self-regulation, stamina, those type of things. But then we also have work to do with that college and career readiness piece. Again, even in TK, right? How do you function at a school? How do you learn alongside your peers? How do you navigate conflict amongst your peers? So that's the school's commitment to this work. In terms of the student commitment, that's where we're asking them to really build those self-advocacy skills, to really develop those study habits that will help them be successful. So that's the student's part, but also that self-advocacy. So if you need some help, who can you tap? Which trusted adult can you go to get the support you need? And then over to the left side, that's the family commitment. So really it's about partnering with the school in terms of the mental health piece and the college and career academic piece of things too. So if you're seeing things at home, reaching out to your students' teachers, and also reaching out to your students' counselors too. Hey, I'm seeing these things. How's that looking at school? What resources can we put in place with that school counseling piece of things? And again, once it gets to that tier 2 or tier 3, really working with the school counselor to do some more, what outside resources can we tap? Can we sign a release of information so that you can work closely with outside providers? So that's the family piece of that. One of the pieces that was a lot of the work last year is we did quite a bit of restructuring at our Black Rock campus. So this is our older model. This is what we had been working with for years past. And I apologize, blue is not the font you should be using up here. So I'll call that out when we get there. So prior to this year, this was the structure of what we had going on for both Leading Edge and PFAA. On the left side, you'll see social emotional counselors. We were at about a 1 counselor to 500 students. And what might be hard to see in that blue is the ASCA model actually recommends 1 counselor to 250 students. So we were definitely way over capacity on that one. But what we had is we had 1 full-time social emotional counselor, or excuse me, 2 that really focused in on just the social emotional piece of things. And then over on the academic side, again, we had about 1 counselor to 500 students, so out of that ratio. And we had 1 counselor who specialized in academic counseling and college and career readiness for 9th and 10th grade, and then a separate person who did 11th and 12th grade. So it was kind of these separate pots that were that we had in our counseling department. Some of the benefits of this was we did have staff with deep knowledge about scholarships, about college application season, FAFSAs, things like that. And we really were able to provide some very specialized resources in different areas. But we were finding through looking at our current practices that there were a lot of challenges. Specifically in that one, we didn't have any targeted academic support for our middle school students. So that was not anywhere in our system. What we found last year is we actually lost some employees to other opportunities, but the problem was they took that knowledge with them. So specifically, we lost Ms. Shank Tiffany earlier in the year. She moved on to a new position, but with that, she took all that 11th and 12th grade knowledge. So that left our new academic counselor kind of scrambling of what are we even doing? And so that was problematic in terms of building a sustainable program. Same thing on the social emotional learning side. If we only had experts who really honed in on that, once they moved on, it was a lot of playing catch up. It was hard to really look at a whole child approach. So if a student needed to talk to an academic counselor about their grades, but maybe they were feeling anxiety about their grades, now they would have to talk to counselor 1 about their grades and then counselor 2 about their feelings. And so it kind of was this disconnect. And so we didn't have a whole student approach to that. So that was one of the challenges with that model. What we were doing was not necessarily aligned with an ASCA national model. The caseloads were over the recommendations. And then we really didn't have an opportunity to ensure that students were receiving age appropriate and targeted services because we just had so many kids to serve. And so that was the rationale for moving to our new model. So what you'll see now, and Tony will speak to the Leading Edge piece just a little bit, is we actually restructured where Leading Edge has their own counselor now. And Tony does the academic, social, emotional, and college and career for our 6th through 8th graders at Leading Edge. That puts him at a caseload of about 1 to 270. So just a few over, but definitely better than 1 to 500. Mm-hmm. Over on the PFAA side, he's like, over on our PFAA side, we recognize that middle schoolers actually need a lot different support than our high school students. And so we wanted to just call out to have a specific middle school counselor. So now we have Ms. Snowden supporting our PFAA middle school students. And so that leaves her at a 1 to 250 student ratio. Our high school counselors, they also carry about 1 to 250, and they both do social, emotional, academics, and college and career, and they actually have a thought partner with each other. So it's not just one person doing the work, but now we have 2 people doing the same amount of work, but they now have a thought partner. And so that's helped things just in terms of that, having a collaborative thought partner, but it also has helped with having a holistic approach to how we support our students as well. I'm sorry, could we go back one more slide? Sorry. I didn't call this out. So one of the things that we did do is with Miss Eichner and Miss Cervantes, we broke them out by last name alpha. So one has the first half of the alphabet and then one has the last half. That way students know, oh, my counselor is so-and-so. That's who I need to see. I will share though that if a kid comes in and they really need to talk with someone and their counselor is not available, certainly any counselor in that space can help them, but they are good at communicating back with that person. Oh, your student stopped by and X, Y, and Z. So that's how we have the restructuring for our Black Rock counselors. And then I'm gonna go ahead and turn it over to Kelsey and Tony, and I'll share a little bit of programmatic updates.
For beginning of the year counseling updates over at the PACT and ECA academies, our counselor Jopa posted Meet the Counselor signage, which included a link to scheduling counseling services for students. At PACT, she held Kindness Club workshops for grades kindergarten through first, Friendship Foundations for grades 2 through 3rd. She has held middle school lunch bunch for grades 5 through 8th, which is like a small social skills group. And then she's also pushing into 3 middle school workshops that are held by teachers as well. And that's at PACT. At ECA, she is prepping for college presentations and holding after-school college application workshops right now in partnership with our other counselor, Megan. And so that's happening over there. At STAR, for the beginning of the year, we had a red carpet welcome for grades 1st through 5th, and then as everyone for TK, new students on campus too. As a counselor, I supported students walking to class, finding their classrooms, and we are starting our small social skills groups this week as well, and inviting students new to STAR from grades 1 through 5 to those groups as well. As the counselor, I also tabled at beginning of the school year activities, like back to school night, meet the teacher event, and shared my updated counseling website as well. I have gone to every classroom on campus for a Meet the Counselor lesson and shared how to access myself on campus with all students. This is TK through 5th. Talked about where my office is located. We discussed how to leave a note for the counselor if students wanted to self-refer. I brought some examples of some of the things we talked about. So each student got like a laminated bookmark that detailed and discussed like size of problem. So we started at the beginning of the year talking about kind of gauging like how we're feeling before we seek counselor support. Let's talk about and reflect how we're feeling, what's the size of our problem, and maybe if it's a small problem, is this something we can solve ourselves? So the goal was to kind of build those independence and resiliency skills, but also engage teachers in problem solving as well. And then being really intentional with counseling services so that if they gauge, okay, I'm a 1, I'm a tornado, it's a big problem, then that's when I need to seek counseling support. And that's where I step in and can help as well. You can go to next slide. During our Meet the Counseling lessons, older students were able to kind of write and reflect about who the counselor is, what the counselor helps with, where my office is located. And then younger students had a similar little lesson as well. But I also handed out school climate surveys for all students to complete, 1st through 5th. So 1st and 2nd grade got a simpler version for primary students. And then older grades, 3rd through 5th, got another version of the climate survey. And this is to kind of gauge how or what direction our counseling program can go throughout the school year, how we can best meet student needs. And it does align with our new PBIS initiatives and expectations on campus as well. So as we talk about student expectations in different areas on campus and how we support student safety, students also are able to fill out this survey, and it asks about if they feel safe, like in the classroom, in the hallways, if they feel supported by teachers and adults on campus, Are the expectations and rules clear on campus and things like that? And we gather this information as a counseling team and are now thinking about how we can support, how we can push into classrooms with different classroom lessons, how else we can support the PBIS team as well.
Good.
Yep, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm going to take care of the 6th grade for Lexi. She was welcoming each 6th grade new family to new students to PFA, and she was welcome as she came to the gates, as they came to the gates. She also had collaboration with the deans, making sure that no student was left behind, meaning that every child was able to be communicated and welcomed with a new card that she sent out to each one of them that had her information as well as her name and her phone number in case if they had any questions, as well as her email address too. We have very tech savvy kids that are able to communicate in multiple different ways. They text you, email you, and call you. She was able to do that, as well as let them know what the role of the counselor was, that she was there to be able to help. Next slide. For Ms. Cervantes and Ms. Eichner, they were able to have over 500 different changes in requests. Think about that. 500 kids came in and wanted to change their classes. Holy moly. That's a lot. For planning, they had 36 different field visits to historic Black colleges and universities, which is outstanding for Megan was able to take care of that. They're also able to schedule both PSAT and SAT tests that are coming up as well. They had a back to school night for PFA. That was a huge success. They had 7 habits of highly successful teams that they had 2 different workshops, one for each one of the different counselors were able to do. They had grade level presentations for both SEL as well as college preparation and career readiness. We have college career readiness coming up in the fall, but we're looking at possibly doing something in the spring, but having something in the fall to be able to get them prepared for that for next year. Next slide. That's me. We were able to engage all the kids as they came through the gate, giving them a knuckle bump with Dr. Latka. We also were supporting family traditions. We had a lot of kids coming from our feeder schools that didn't know this is the first time that they're going to be going to different schools. They had big backpacks and big dreams, but they got lost. So we were able to walk them to their class. We were able to visit each one of the classes the first day of school, making sure that they felt the love, as well as we had opening assembly where we identified our school monitors, as well as our health aide, our front desk person, Ms. Heidi, as well as all the key people that we have here at Learning Edge. And we also have a leadership group that's going on for some of our kids that in one eyes can be considered leaders, in other eyes can be considered very challenging kids, but we look at them as potential leaders. So we're being able to reframe that to be able to make sure that they can be leaders. We did a cyberbullying survey to be able to see, because there's a lot of communication, and I have data here for you at your leisure. You can take a look at it. We have both the results as well as the survey data. This is high level of what happened. We sent out a survey to all of Leading Edge about cyberbullying. We had 94 responses out of the total 277 kids. Of that data, 55% of them reported that they've been reported being cyberbullied. That's pretty astonishing. The insults, trolling, and harassing were the most prevalent that happened. The platforms that we figured out were TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube Live. Of that, of the kids that reported back, think about this, 44% of those actually check social media every day, and 34 actually every hour. So they were getting pinged every hour. Now think about that. How many hours do you think that a middle schooler spends on social media since we have that opportunity? How many hours do you think within a week?
Within a week or within a day?
Within a week. Well, in a day, we can break down into days. But within a week, how much do you think? It's a big number.
40.
49. They're doing a full-time job on social media. So they're going to school, they're doing home, doing what they, and then they're on 40 hours as well. So this data actually showed relevance to the fact that we need to be able to make sure that we keep an eye on that. Now, the common themes are social media is a tool, but it has a negative impact as well. So when we're thinking about that, the data actually shows this. We also had a listening group of some of the participants that were randomly drawn, and some of the data actually showed there for you, there for your reading as well.
Hopefully you can tell just through the different presentations and the different slides that we are really aligning our practices throughout our academies. This is Green Ribbon Week, and that was a collective effort with all of our counselors. So it's been really cool to see how that's been rolled out with TK all the way up through 12th grade. And so you'll see some more collaborative efforts, but really it's that Green Ribbon Week, and then we have Red, it's so hard to say, Red Ribbon Week in October. So
Before, what is Green Ribbon Week?
Tony,
It's for suicide prevention and mental health awareness. So we decided to blend, it's a great question. We decided to blend them both together, age appropriate, because the mental health can actually lead to suicidal ideations. We don't have a lot of that going on here, but we want to be able to give relevance to the fact that Mr. Shane takes care of the physical health, our PED, and us as counselors want to take care of the mental health. The combined, we can deal with the whole child, which I think is the philosophy we have here in school.
Great, thank you. Okay, with that, that's our update. Questions? Anything we can clarify?
We have openings in the leadership group if you ever want to come.
Kelsey can give you extra bookmarks or at home, what size is your problem?
I do want to commend, before they walk by, I do want to commend Petra and the counseling team. They did a very good job of really restructuring, looking at the national standards, and that moving some people's cheese a little bit, you know, but people have to do things. But you can see, we have a much more cohesive team than we've had in the past, and counseling services are much more accessible to our students than they have been in the past. And one little tweak on the alphabet change that Petra was talking about at high school really means that when a student comes in as a freshman, they could potentially have the same counselor for 4 years. So someone who really gets to know them and work with them across the whole gamut of the 4 years, which, as she was sharing, we didn't really have before. There was a lot of disconnection there. So I think they've done a really good job of really taking a students first approach and really better supporting our students with counseling. So thank you guys.
I do have a quick question. So what is the process if, say, a student does want to come see a counselor?
They're different for each academy. So Kelsey and then Tony, do you want to share yours? And then I can share on behalf of the other ones.
Yeah, at Star Academy, if a student is asking to see the counselor, so if they're self-referring, the process is a little different for like TK through kinder. Usually, I'll check in with the student or check in with the teacher. But when they are able to like advocate for themselves, write notes as well, we went over it in our first Meet the Counselor lesson and shared examples of the notes. So we have like counseling notes that have the same like diagrams and wording on them where they write like their name, their teacher, the size of their problem. For younger kiddos, it's they can cross like friendship or family, classroom support. And for the older kiddos, they can write a little blurb about like maybe what's going on for them. The notes are located in the classroom. So anytime they're experiencing big feelings or there's an issue that's come up during recess, when they return to their classroom, they can request a counseling note from their teacher. They know where those notes are located in the classroom. They fill that out with teacher support as needed. And then I have a mailbox located up in the front office, which I check daily, where the teachers will put their counseling notes in. And then based on size of problem, whether it's like immediate support's needed, big problem, or maybe just to check in later on in the week, then I'll be able to prioritize those notes as needed. And then definitely teachers and parents can also refer students to check in with the counselor as well.
Yeah, to piggyback on that, it's similar. So if a child is advocating that they have an emotional need that's immediately, that they can't be able to self-regulate or be able to take a time out, then we take care of that immediately. If they come to my office or I come to them, depending on the familiarity that they have with it. But more than that, if it's going to be something consistent that we see over a pattern of time, we schedule a time for them so that they have their own time for a short period of time and then try to be able to use our outside resources to be able to give the long-term effects that they need. But a lot of it is actually articulation from the child, but also if parents have something going on that they want us to be able to keep an eye on, as well as the teachers or staff as well. So it's really on a situational basis.
And then I'll do broad strokes for the other because I don't really know the weeds as much as I can speak to. I know for Miss Tao, who's at ECA Impact, she tries to be very visible. So when parents are there, it's just like, hi, get to know the kids. She swings in and out of workshops at PACT. She also has a QR code that she has kind of pasted around each of the academies that kids can just scan or families can scan to sign up. At PFAA, they have, again, broad strokes. There might be other avenues as well. There's a way that kids can sign up through Schoology. So there's just a link to like request an appointment time with my counselor. We also have kids just stop in to our SS2 room, and if a counselor's available, that's great. If not, they sign into the iPad down there too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, next up, California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress and English Learning. English language proficiency.
Laura.
All right, I have to go after them. Oh my goodness. They're like the fun crew, right? I need where's my bookmarks? All right, so yes, we are talking about the assessment update for this year. As always, standardized assessments are just one piece of how a student is doing. Remembering that we take a very whole child approach at Natomas Charter School. So while we are required by the state to look at and really heavily value the standardized tests, I want us to all know that we see more than just test scores for children. So go to the next one, please. So just some big overarching trends that we have. We've seen some overall growth in ELA, English Language Arts. Math is kind of flat. Our focus area continues to be math. And similar to last year, we see some disparities still in our English learners, special education, socioeconomically disadvantaged, Black, African American, and Hispanic subgroups. And then looking ahead, we're going to be talking more about this in the coming board meetings. We do have some exciting news, though, as far as new groups that are coming out in the 2024 California School Dashboard. We're going to have English learners and long-term English learners specifically as a student group for an indicator. So you'll have some new data. Sorry, I just couldn't keep that secret. All right, next slide. Ziva agrees, it's super exciting. Okay, so starting with our LCAT scores. So as a reminder to anyone who's not familiar, this stands for English Learner Assessment for each year. Any student that is considered an English learner or has more than one language at home is given a summative assessment in the spring to assess their listening, speaking, reading, and writing. And so this is where we ended up at the end of last year. We had about 124, 25 students that we assessed. What you'll see is that we have 11 there that are beginning to develop. So those are our very first stages of English language acquisition. And it's interesting because we're seeing more beginning to develop students coming to our school than we have in the past. Which is kind of exciting for me because that means our community is more diverse and families who are just moving to the area of the country are learning about us and getting into our system. So I think that's great for our diversity. We also, if you go across, students should be moving as they go through the years, the well-developed and possible reclassification. So we have about 23% of our students that are going to be up for reclassification. So we're assessing how they did on their LPAC. We're looking at their CAST scores, their iReady scores, teacher recommendation, and parent feedback. And so hopefully we'll have a nice group for our reclassification ceremony in December. All right, if you look at the scores, because that's looking broad strokes of the whole in Natomas Charter School, what I did is I broke it down by grade level. So you'll see that, for example, in TK, we're just above the 5 mark there for how many students we had, right? And so blue is they're just beginning to develop, which, let me tell you, given this test to TKers, not easy, because they're like, pencil what, right? Like, what, you want me to do this with the, the paper? And so a lot of them qualify and then reclassify after that. Kindergarten, we have a large group, so almost 20 that we had last year. But you'll see that many of them by the end of kindergarten were going into that well-developed, possible reclassification, as well as moderately developed. A lot of the TK and kinder kiddos, when they're coming in, it's just they don't know school and assessments. So that's really good. And then if you look at the numbers trends from first to second to third to fourth to fifth, it is decreasing. And so that is the vast majority is at our Star Academy. And so what you see is the student groups get smaller and smaller because we're reclassifying them over the years, which that's what you want to see. You want students to reclassify before their 7th year in the system, because that's when they become a long-term English learner. Then you see that in 6th grade, the numbers bump way up because we've just infused 200 more children into the coffers of Natomas Charter School for 6th grade. So you see a bump up of new students coming in from other schools. And then they start to decrease as you get towards the end of high school. So, as we get new students in, we try to support them as they go there. Let's see. And many of our long-term English learners are coming in that middle school and high school. So sometimes they come to us from that. All right, you can go to that. So preliminary CAST, school-wide trends, what we're seeing is that we are seeing some growth. Our multilingual or our English learners had some good growth. They started to show some growth in the English language arts. We're still seeing strength in 3rd through 5th grade in math. And then we saw a 10% jump for our African-American subgroup, which is awesome because we are working really hard at that. So yay, way to go, kids. But they're still low, but we'll take the movement, right? One thing to keep in mind that the CAST data I'm sharing with you, this is all our local. I got the raw data and did a bunch of fun stuff with it. Joe helped out with that because we're data nerds. And so it's all based on our local things. I won't get a sneak peek at how the state looks at our data until September 18th. So mark it on your calendars. I know you guys are as excited as I am. All right, next one. All right, so we start to take a look at our data here. You can tell, and this is year over year. So like in 2022, our 3rd graders were at 57%. In 2023, they were at 53%, 2024, right? So these are different groups of kids, but you can see how the grade levels are doing across the board. We definitely see the strength in the consistent use of curriculum at Star Academy. But just to kind of give you a baseline here, the state, as of last year, I don't have the state numbers yet. I won't get that till the 18th. I'm just waiting, but they were at 35% last year, and USD was at about 28%. So while we all want to be up in the high 90s, right, for all of our kids meeting or exceeding, we're doing well in comparison wise. The next one, please. This is the cohort report. So this is where you're looking at the same group of kids. So for example, our 3rd graders here from last year, they only have one set of data because they only took the test in 3rd grade. But you can see these 4th graders in 3rd grade, they were at 53% meeting or exceeding, and then in 4th grade, they were 64. So that kind of, you can see the growth as you're going across. We typically see a dip in 6th grade, infusion of new students, and there's just something about starting middle school that just, I don't know, does that to data anywhere you go in the world. So you can kind of see where we're at with those, but not too bad. So it's showing growth. Next, we're going to look at math. And so this is where I have I was talking about the 10% growth for our Black and African American students. So they went from 12% to 22%. Do we want any subgroup to be at 22? No, we want it higher, but that was good movement. And so you start looking at the different subgroups, which is something that we've been paying a lot of attention to. And so we're seeing kind of mid-range there. Still working on things. We're putting in a lot of new structures based on this data for this next year. Okay. All right. Oh, I have my titles wrong up there. Sorry. It is math, not English language arts. Here, we're looking at our year over year. So we see lots of consistency in 3rd grade, which is pretty good because that's the first year that they're going in. seeing a little bit of a dip in that middle school, and then by 11th grade, we're pulling them up. What we really see in our data is that the longer a student is here with us at the school, the better they do. And so you kind of see that over time. As far as this, looking at the math results, the state was averaging about 46%. Natomas Unified was about 41%. So we're still a little bit above, but not quite where we want to be.
Laura, just to clarify,
Yeah.
you said math, but these are English language arts results, right?
Yes.
It's just the title.
The
The title, yeah,
grade
sorry.
title's off,
Yes,
yeah.
the top title's right there. Yeah. All right. Let's see. Okay, yes, and then we look at the cohort results. So looking at how they have grown over the years, so you see that they're making progress as they go. Yeah, so if they're staying with us, if they're consistent in the program, which makes sense because then they're building their skills. The next one. All right, and then this, we look at our subgroups, similar type of thing where we're looking for growth in the different subgroups. We had a little bit of growth here in English language arts as well for our Black and African American group. We saw some good growth with our English learners, which is good, which should bode well for our English learner progress. So as we were looking at this data, Joe and I were talking about it, and he did some deep diving into CalPADS and data to break down and look at, because we have that big dip in 6th grade, really looking at like what is going on there. And so we have some data here looking at where students went to elementary school when they're coming into our program. So for example, ECA, 63% of the students that were tested in ECA were from outside of Natomas Charter School. Only 36% came from all the way through Natomas Charter School, okay? And so it's interesting when you get to Leading Edge and PFAA, you see that it's kind of a little lopsided. You would think that 50% of STAR students go into Leading Edge and 50% go into Performing and Fine Arts. They don't. It changes year to year. And about 10 years ago, it was kind of the opposite way. Most of them were going to Leading Edge, and now they're going to TFAA, so it just kind of changes with the times, I guess. But it's interesting to see the numbers of kids that are coming from outside who are coming in, and like Mr. Gaz was saying, you know, we have to say, here's how we do it here. You know, this is how we're going to pay attention to you, because we do pay a lot of attention to our students. And sometimes when they come in from outside, they're like, what, you know, why are you know my name? Why are you paying attention to me? And so that's important to know. If you go to the next one, please, Ziba. This is where it gets interesting. So here we're looking at how the students did on their 2024 ELA CASP scores. And so the blue is going to be students who went to NCS through elementary school. And then the yellow is if they're not from NCS. And so you'll see that if you're going straight through our academy, you're putting yourself at an advantage moving forward. So. Going on to math, looking at the same thing, the differences in math, the students are coming in quite a bit lower. And so this is important information as the teachers are looking at their students in their classes to see, okay, where are the discrepancies? Where do I need to support certain students? Are there prerequisite skills that we need to reteach before they can go on to a new concept? Let's see, the one PACT and ECA, it's interesting because the come through Natomas Charter School is lower than the students coming from the outside. Which is kind of interesting because at the non-site based, you kind of get like the high and the low kids. You don't get a lot of the middle kids. And so, you know, so I think a lot of families are going to our non-site based programs because they get a ton of support and care. Like we see a trend at PACT right now where a lot of families are coming to us because of other traumas or needs that they need to take care of their child and pull them out of the classroom situation. So it's interesting data, and we'll have to keep an eye on it moving forward. So what are we doing? We're continuing the journey, right? We are really looking at how can we focus on math and literacy. So first is we do our diagnostic assessments. So the academies are all finishing up with their iReady assessments. Actually, in October, we'll be sharing that data with you as well. But really looking at what are the needs of the individual students we have this year, because all of that other data was from last year, right? So we're starting the year together. Looking at differentiation in core classes. So using a workshop model where they're rotating through working with the students. You can group them by need and kind of fill in those little gaps. Looking at those prerequisite skills, right? If you're going to be doing math or algebra problem where there's fractions and you know your students are not strong in fractions, right? You go and you have them practice the fractions a little bit, refresh that in their brain so that then they can apply it to algebra. So supporting that, and then individual practice and support. We have some new intervention classes that we have established. We've got some academic language development classes that are being put in place for our low leaders. And then some math intervention classes. I was actually in the middle school math intervention class today, and it was really great to watch the kids solving problems together, and they were hands-on with the problems, and they were playing with this program called Desmos, where it graphs the data. And so they took data, they were all rating fruit on how yummy is it and how easy is it to eat. And then their data went onto the map, and so then they were moving the data around on the graph. So it was really interesting to watch them and see them starting to make connections where probably before if you said graph something, they're like, oh, no way, right? But because they were doing it in a hands-on way, it was making sense to them. So it was kind of cool. Let's see, additional tutoring and instruction. So of course we have our WIN time, our learning lab, and after-school tutoring. I know Leading Edge has just started their first week of their after-school math tutoring, which is really great. Dr. Lockteff shared a bunch of data with me this afternoon about it. I haven't had a chance to really dig into it. We're doing parent engagement, so STEAM night, family literacy night, trying to bring the families in so that they can really see and understand what's going on at school and support at home. And then lots of professional development that we're doing with our staff. They're doing, I think there's 3 or 4 different book studies going on out there. We've got our literacy cohort. It's great. We actually, our EL TOSA has been focusing with our middle school on doing literacy assessments based on iReady. So they're pulling kids to do phonics assessments and fluency assessments so that they can really support them. So we're pretty busy working on how can we support the students and really looking at their need by name, right? Knowing the student and their need. Next one is digital score reports went out last week. So everybody should have gotten an email with a way to access the student score reports that the LCAP, the CASP, and the CAST. And if families were not able to get the system to work through PowerSchool or PowerSchool Parent Portal, then all they had to do was ask, and then we just print out a copy of the score reports and send them to them. We'll also be sending home all of the LPAC scores paper to the families, backpacks with the little in the Friday folder with some of the littles, and then the older kids will be mailing them home. But we want to make sure that all of our families can navigate that. And then I think that's, where are we going? So looking at next month in October, we'll have all of the principals here. We'll be looking at academy level past data and iReady data. They're going to be talking a little bit about what they're doing individually in their academies to support our different goals, and then and how they're aligning that with our plans. So a quick overview. Any questions? Yeah.
On your graph on math met by the elementary kids,
Uh-huh.
it says, if I'm reading this correctly, is it that 35% of our kids, only 35% of our kids are meeting math standards?
Which one are you on?
It's like a second,
The second one?
right before the circle.
Oh, yes, for fifth grade?
Yeah, is that what that means? So like 65% are not meeting standard?
Which slide are you on?
Which,
It's the one right above the circle.
Okay, so
oh, right above the circle,
last
sorry.
graph,
Oh, just kidding.
keep
What
going
do you
forward,
get here?
Ava, keep
Okay.
going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. One more,
So,
this one.
and then which school are you talking about?
School-wide, yeah.
School-wide, so school-wide, students who went through an NCS elementary, 42.22% are met or exceeded at the end of last year. And then if they were from outside of NCS for elementary, it was 29.5%. Yeah, but total it's 35.
Is that pretty standard, like, or is it specialist?
I'd say post-COVID, that's pretty standard. That's kind of what we're seeing.
Well, and comparatively speaking, what Laura mentioned earlier is that last year, the state of California was 35% and the Thomas Unified was 28%.
Yeah.
And that data right there is just the 6th through 8th and 11th graders. Our school-wide number is 42%. So when you bring in the elementary kids.
Yeah,
So
because
we are-
elementary's not included.
We are
still-
outperforming the state and the school district, but as you're feeling, the performance level is still too low,
Okay.
Yes.
right? We're all,
Yes.
we're all on the
Oh,
same
yes.
page on that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think that, we're doing a math study with Dr. Ting's son, and our math TOSA and Ting and I were going through classrooms earlier, or I guess it was last week, couldn't have been earlier this week. And we are going through and doing observations, and a lot of what you see is that the students are oftentimes lacking confidence in their math skills. And often it's, especially in middle school, it's that automaticity of their math skills, which you see those gaps from kind of the in their varied experiences. And so those are some of the things that we're working on. I know our math TOSA, Courtney Selby, is working on a math fluency assessment so that they'll look at the iReady scores and then say, okay, these kids were not doing very well. Let's give them a secondary assessment, much like we do with the reading, and see where are the gaps and holes and what can we do to fill those gaps and holes. So, yeah.
And it's really gonna take a comprehensive approach. Like, one of the things that Laura and I are gonna be speaking at some parent nights over the next couple of months. And one of the things we're gonna be talking to the parents about is that, ultimately, kids are with us a very limited amount of time. And so to move this needle, especially in math, it's gonna require some work at home by families too. And so, we'll provide all the materials and resources, but I'm talking everything from teaching your kids how to play Yahtzee and Blackjack to, doing math facts and math games. Like it's going to take that approach because we're seeing that the kids are coming in, especially as they come into middle school, with some significant skill gaps. And the skill gaps are usually around basic computational facts, like Laura was talking about, add, subtract, multiply, and divide.
Yeah.
Can you do 4 divided by 8 and turn that into 0.5 in your head type thing? That is the piece that seems to be missing. It's interesting. I think part of this is COVID. I think part of this is also Common Core. Common Core has a real high emphasis on, that you can take a multiplication problem and make, 47 different representations of it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that kids no, 7 times 7 is 49. And so we need to really sort of build and reinforce that. And so it's going to take that building those skills both at school, after school, and then also looking at, time we're spending at home on homework.
Yeah, you can see that the kids can understand the concepts of the new things being, shared with them, but then when they go to work the problem, that's where you see them going, I know what I'm supposed to do, but what do I do with that fraction? Or how do I, divide those two numbers? And so it's really finding out what are those missing chunks and helping to build their confidence with that. But yeah. Yes, it's not a glorious time in math.
School-wide blackjack night.
I'm down. My now junior was teaching his whole second grade class how to play blackjack. Because he didn't like doing math facts when he was in elementary school, so we didn't like checking Yahtzee. And then I got a call from a second grade teacher saying, your kid's teaching our kids how to gamble. I was like, okay. And they all added 21.
More skills.
Great game called Presto Changeo out there, people, helps your kids make change.
Yep.
So yeah, there's lots of ways to just get them that practice that's outside of the classroom that makes it more fun, makes it more applicable. You know, like the old thing of take your kid to the grocery store and have them add up, you know, all the things you're buying. You know, take them, I used to take my kid to Target, you know, with like $5 and say, okay, but you have to do tax, you know, and so they can figure it out. You just giving them that practical application. So, any other questions? Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura.
All right, next up, hearing of the public for items not on the agenda.
Nothing received with me, no one online.
Hearing of the public for items on the agenda.
Also nothing received with me, no one online.
Dr. Wood, you got some comments for us?
A couple quick things. First of all, if you did not get your little flyer for all the PFA performances this year, make sure you get this flyer.
Is that new?
We've actually had it for a couple of years.
It's really cool.
Yeah,
I like
it's
it.
actually nice, put on your refrigerator.
Yeah.
We also sent these out to all the Natomas Unified trustees to invite them to our performances, along with like other, you know, elected officials, city council members, state assembly members, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
On here, one of the first shows that's opening up is She Kills Monsters, so that'll be actually playing in the Black Box Theater here on campus, and it's pretty cool. The kids are doing a lot of fun stuff with stage combat in that particular one, so you'd be very impressed. I'll just say I saw some videos of 3 children that are involved in this play, and I was convinced there was a fight that happened in the park over there. And then I had to be re-shown some other videos that showed how they were actually working on stage combat. So that's pretty cool. So the next time we will all be together as a board is going to be on March 21st. So we have a little bit of time because, or October, sorry, just kidding. It's clearly 8 o'clock at night. So I usually call in bed at this time. Okay, so our next time we're together is October 21st, not March 21st, October 21st. But just before that, we all have our fall break on October 7th, the week of October 7th, so campus will be closed then. And then, as I mentioned, She Kills Monsters opens up at the same time we're back in on the 21st.
Awesome. Okay, board of director comments. Let's see you. Future board agenda items. Got nothing?
Zach, anything particularly you want to talk about the next board meeting?
Screen time.
No, I'm excited.
Okay.
Okay. All right, well, thanks for hanging out with us. You can tell we're a busy, lively,
course.
excited group.
It's an honor.
All right, let's see. I think I should adjourn the meeting. 8:01.